Hello everyone, I hope you're all doing better than the world's expecting you to right now. It's a lot. I feel like life's just come to being a lot. I think everyone's struggling right now, but we're all in it together. This is the world. This is me. Relatable, am I right? So today's gonna be May's reading wrap up. I read all blue books in May. I did stretch it a bit at times because I wanted to read some extra books and I did not complete all the stuff on my TBR. You'd think that because I read 15 books, that I would have tried to prioritize the ones on my TBR. I tried, but I think page count wise it's not the same because I read a lot of graphic novels and comics this month. But let's get started. This is The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Le Guin. Definitely the best book I read this month. It's a new favorite. It's a sci-fi written in the 60s. It's just so way before this time. You're following Mr. I, who basically goes down on this planet called Winter, and he tries to convince the people of Winter to join their intergalactic community. And on Winter, people there basically have no gender or both genders, and they switch every month, and it's just a really cool reflection on gender. It's also an amazing environment because it's winter all the time there basically, so everything is like very atmospheric and it's about friendship and a lot of stuff, and I really loved it. I wish kind of it would have made me a bit more emotional, but that's the only con I have for this book. I think it's very well written. Fourth one, I believe, in this Hainish World series by Ursula K. Le Guin, and I'm definitely gonna read the first three after this. They're on the way in the mail. I'm waiting for them today. Please just come today because don't you just hate it when the mailman's like, yeah, we'll come on Tuesday, so make sure to stay home, but like I gotta go buy food today because it was like a red day yesterday and the day before that, so supplies are running low. If you want more information, click in the cards because I do have an individual review for that book because I just loved it so much. And then we read Taproot. This is boy on romance, boy on ghost boy romance about this gardener and this little ghost, and it's so cute. It is definitely not my favorite because at the end it was dragging a bit, but it's just romance between them, and then there is an element of like death getting involved because obviously he is a ghost. But I really liked it. The artwork is okay. It's not my favorite artwork because I don't like the brush, the digital brush that was used for the fine lining, which is an odd con to have, I know, but it really bothered me for some reason. But yeah, I gave it 4 stars. I think I recommend it, and it's nice. I liked it. It was cute. This is what I think I feel about this, what other people feel about Heartstopper, but I just can't. I don't agree with that. Ooh, then we have an audiobook. I listened to the audiobook for We Are Legion, We Are Bob. This is about this guy, Bob, who basically signs at a convention, sci-fi convention I think, he signs an agreement saying that when he dies, this company is allowed to use his mind, revive him into an AI. And so right afterwards he's in a car crash or car accident, and they basically revive his mind as an AI, and he gets all this mission job. The world has changed in the future. All his family and friends are dead, and he gets control of this ship, and lots of things start to happen. He starts to like want to multiply and creates many different versions of Bob. The audiobook is really great because a lot of the different Bobs, they have like different character, like on the look, they look different when they are in like the virtual reality together where they like communicate, and one is like looks like Simpson and one is like Garfield, and then the narrator has changed their voices so it does sound like Simpson is Simpson. That's his last name, isn't it? What's his first name? I haven't watched The Simpsons. I don't know, but you know I'm the main guy, the tall head one. So I thought it was okay. Unfortunately, I wasn't so invested into the story. I think I would have liked it more to read it physically, even though the audiobook was exceptional, just because I never really got into it, and I'm sort of sad when I listen to my favorite books. It's not a favorite, but I'm sort of sad when I listen to my favorite books on audiobook, just because I feel like I'm not getting all the itty-gritty details like I am when I'm reading it. And I'll talk more about that in another book that I did give 5 stars to, and I listened to an audiobook. The next one I read was Anya's Ghost. This is about Anya, who her parents are Russian immigrants, and she's really struggling with accepting her culture, and she tries as much as she can to drive away from it. And then one day she basically falls into this pit where there's a skeleton, and the ghost of the skeleton gets attached to her, and their relationship starts to develop, lots of things start to happen. It's really cute. It's basically like the perfect story. I don't know how to explain it differently, but everything that happens is just done in like the perfect storytelling structure way. The art is really cool because it's all black and white with different tones, and it just really fits the story. I really liked it. I liked the message. It was just really cute. I gave it 5 stars because I love graphic novels so much. I love graphic novels. Then I read this. I think it was the last book I read during my Read a Ton of Blue Books, the Blue Readathon that I was hosting last month, and inspired by my TBR when I read all the blue books, and we all read all the blue books, and it was a lot of fun. And we're gonna do a red readathon called the Readathon. You guessed it. Look at the cards for the announcement video for that one. But next one I read was 9 Foxx Gambit. This was sent to me by Rebellion Publishing. It is a epic with big letters, big epic sci-fi that takes place long into the future. You're following this character called Chris, who is a normal kind of soldier, but she gets promoted into a captain position, and she suddenly gets control of all these other... This world is super complicated. Please look at the review if you want more information. I'm just gonna talk about my thoughts. This book really plunges you straight into the action, straight into the plot, and you have no time to get used to it. It doesn't really explain any of the words, and you just kind of have to pick everything up as you go on. And it's just really complicated, and you have to like take notes, and you have to focus, and you have to read between the lines heavily. I think my biggest con with this, I didn't mind that so much when you got into it, which took quite a while, basically the whole book, but now I'm excited for the second one. But my biggest con is that there's basically close to 0 environmental descriptions of how it looks around her, the chairs she's sitting on, or the ships that around her. There's like no description for anything basically, which I think is a huge con because I just can't visualize it all that much when I'm reading it, which I think is really sad. But I gave it 4 stars. It's pretty good. I picked up a book that I actually gave 4 stars to, but it doesn't leave my mind. I just keep thinking about it, like all the time. I just keep thinking about it, and that is A Scanner Darkly by Philip K. Dick. This is about our main character, Bob, also. His name is also Bob. Bob Arctor, who is a double agent. His job is as a policeman, and he is trying to catch people who use and distribute this drug called Substance D, or Substance Death, that has become violently popular. Basically, in this whole world, it's a dystopian, so in this whole world, everyone is basically addicted to something. But what's so dangerous about... I wish I did a review on this because it's so good. I want to talk about this book endlessly, and I think after this I'm going to go and change my review to a 5 stars because it was just... There's so many great things about it. So what happens is that Bob Arctor is sent to investigate himself because as cops they kind of wear these suits that make them look blurry, so no one who knows who cops are, and so he's sent to investigate himself because they think that he has something to do with, you know, the Substance D. What they don't know is that he kind of does. He does take a lot of Substance D, and he develops like addiction throughout this story, but what Substance D does is basically split your 2 brain halves, and there's research in this that shows that people, when they use Substance D a lot, can develop 2 personalities, and you can imagine this becomes quite a struggle when he basically has 2 identities already. And then it's just really good, and it's like it has so many great messages, but it's also like really cleverly written. I loved the ending. You know, it has that ending where one line changes the whole story, and I thought that was really fun. Just the characters in this are so unlikable and so bizarre. I just really liked it, and now I'm talking about it, I just really like it a lot. I think I gave it like 5 stars. It was so great, and I can't wait to read more books by Philip K. Dick. Then I read a comic recommended to me by Moonbook. Thank you so much. This is Volume 1 String Theory of the Wayward comics. This is quite an old one, I think, now already, and there's like 6 release or something. So this is about this girl who needs to move in with her mother in Japan, but she's lived in Ireland, I think, her whole life. She just looks a little bit different because she looks Asian, but she has orange hair because of her heritage from her father, and she also has this power that she doesn't really know what happens, but then when she comes to Japan, she discovers other people with power, and she discovers some sort of dark force, and they have to work together. And there's also a struggle with her relationship to her mom because they haven't really spent so much time together, so they don't really know each other that well. And this is definitely very action-packed, and there's a lot happening, and usually I would say that this type of story is rushed, but it isn't. It doesn't come off as rushed, which is something that's really fun to me, something that is really fast-paced and action-packed, but isn't rushed, which is something I think is quite rare, usually. So I highly recommend this. I really liked it. Then, finally, god damn it, I completed Nemesis Game, the 5th book in the Expanse series. I've been meaning to read this for more than a year, which is just completely ridiculous. From the start, this follows, oh my god, I've already forgotten his name. It will come to me. Holden. You follow this captain called Holden, who has this fleet that carries ice from the Saturn belt to the belt and Mars. Get water. It follows the expanse of humankind into the universe. In the last one, a portal was open to another world, and a lot of things happened there. But in this one, they have come home to the home base solar system where Earth is. And what happens in this one is that all the characters that are really close knit and really good friends, they all split up, which is weird because we've been following these characters together, right? And now they all split up and they all go home because they think they finally have some free time. What a joke, am I right? So they're all split up, which is a weird dynamic because I do really like them together, but this book also really made me realize how much they do need to be together. At the same time, we got a lot of backstory on all these characters, and I particularly enjoyed getting the perspective of Naomi. So you follow Naomi the most because her backstory is quite jarring and you learn a lot about her, and that was like quite shocking. I enjoyed all their backstories and I thought it was really cool. And then there's this belt rebels that rise up and they have to deal with that. I liked it, but I'm really sad because I think my mind wasn't in it. Like I wasn't super in the mood for this kind of story, which makes me really sad because I think it is a 5-star book, but it was more like I enjoyed it more like a 4-star. But I mean, the series is just really great. I can't wait to read the next one. Then I read Rick and Morty. I kind of started this the month before, I think, and that's why it's not so blue, but it's a little bit blue. I count because I like to cheat. Not in life, just when reading. So this was actually a real disappointment. The beginning story, there's like different stories, you know, different chapters, and the first story, like I just didn't like the plot, which if you don't already know this, Rick and Morty I think is like hugely plot driven, and it is character driven, but something you might not think of is that if the plot isn't there, it's just not as good. And this, I just didn't enjoy it all that much. I just realized it really hit me like how much text there is in these comics, and I'm not excited to pick up the next one soon. I did give it 2 stars, so I'm gonna take a break from these Rick and Morty comics for now, especially because this 4th season is publishing more episodes, so I like to watch that instead and not at the same time, if that makes sense. Then I listened to an audiobook of Supper Club. This is way more pigmented than the audiobook. Oh, the audiobook kind of looks like the pigment on screen. This is way more turquoise. I picked this up because I originally saw this on Waterstones when I was in London, but I decided not to pick it up because I thought it was expensive. And I decided to just wait, put it on my Goodreads, but then I saw that there was an audiobook for this, and I just decided to pick it up and see if the audiobook was any good. I like the audiobook. The narrator's voice is kind of monotone, but it kind of fits the plot in some way. I don't know why, but it just really fits. It is so good. I ended up giving this 5 stars, and that's why I ended up buying a copy. It was so hard to get a hold of this. I had to order it on the Waterstones website for it not to be too expensive, but I got an extra copy because I really want to read it, reread it in person, because like I said previously, it's a little bit more difficult to connect to the story, but I just think this was like a really important book. And you follow the main character Roberta and how she meets Stevie and how they develop a friendship and how they decide to start this supper club. So Roberta, she is really into cooking, and she starts this supper club to like reclaim her womanhood, and it's all about these women coming together, getting reunited, and living to their fullest potential and trying to break from letting go of all these like norms and gender roles that you put on yourselves as women. And I thought this was really powerful. I liked how these women are all different. There's like a trans woman, there is a gay relationship, there's just like good representation, I think, and you also get the backstory of all these characters. And as you listen to the audiobook, I did forget a little bit who was who, especially when there's like a cast of characters, but you're always following Roberta. But so that's why I really want to read it in physical form. I also really like when books are paperback, but they have this little flap. I think that's really cool. I really liked it. I highly recommend. It's not so much talked about, so give it a shot. Then I ended up reading Perfume by Patrick Suskind, I don't know how to say it. And this is the classic of the month. It's about this boy born in the 18th century in Paris, and it is so interesting. I absolutely love this classic. It's not my favorite classic, and I think it started super strong, and then it kind of dwindled a little bit throughout the story. But it's about this boy that's born from a mother who has had several miscarriages or stillbirths, it's actually called stillbirths, and she doesn't care whatsoever for her children. She just gives birth in the middle of the street and leaves her child there. And this child grows up to be super strange. No one wants it because this child doesn't smell like anything, which people think are super weird. And the child also has like a very acute sense of smell that's just beyond regular, like the best sense of smell basically in the whole world. And having this setting of the 18th century Paris, things are smelly, people are smelly, the street is smelly, everything just smells a lot. And the way that Patrick described all these different smells was just really well done. And I ended up highlighting a lot because the way he described different types of smell, which is really unique, the way he used like similes and metaphors, and just really great. I love that a lot. And the ending is good, and I ended up really loving the message, because kind of what happens with this child, what is his name? Jean-Baptiste, the guy who can smell a lot, he decides he wants to be a perfume maker, and he gets really obsessed with this scent of a young girl, and it's kind of like very disturbing, but I could also relate to him a lot, which is just really weird. And I ended up really liking the message that was at the end about how it's better to be hated for who you are than loved for who you're not, which I don't really think is a spoiler, but it's just, I recommend this classic. I thought it was really good, and I'm really glad I finally got to read it because it's been on my TBR for forever. That was good. Then I picked up a graphic novel that I've never heard about. I just picked it up at the comic book store. This is An Embarrassment of Witches by Sophie Goldstein and Jenna Jordan. It is a, I would say, new adult. It's about this woman who has always followed the dreams of her boyfriends, and she ends up ditching her boyfriend when she realizes he's a complete trash. He's a trash bag, and she tries to find herself again, and her best friend is an apprentice of her mother, which is in this like elite society, and she is making all these friends. She's trying to find her way. What I didn't tell you about this that I feel is like super important is that they're all witches, and they all live in this magical world, and it's really funny because they all have like a animal. What is that called? I want to say spirit animal, but that's not it. They have like, what is that? Bonding animal? Companion animal? It's spirit animal? It's not that. What is it called? They kind of play with these tropes and these like ideas used for magic. So there's like a flying carpet. There's a tree that breeds like birds. A sustainable food source for zombies being developed. Like, it's just really silly and funny, and I'm actually like absolutely in love with the art. The artist has chosen to focus on these really strong colors, like color scheme, like yellow, purple, and black, and it's just really cool. I'm absolutely in love with the colors used, and there's one scene where she takes these drugs and she has this picture, which I just really like. The colors are so nice. I like it a lot. Unfortunately, I felt like the story was kind of basic. Like the world building and the quirkiness and the relationships were all there, but I just felt like there wasn't so much like driving the story forward. Like there wasn't so much plot, there wasn't so much objective to like why you would want to continue reading, like stakes, you know? I guess that was my problem with it. My knee. Oh yeah, and there's like a flying broom. So those are my thoughts on that one. Then we need to talk about two books that I don't have physical copy. The first one is A Quick and Easy Guide to They Them Pronouns. I was recommended to me by, I want to say Rogan Shannon, something like that. I'll put his name here. His channel is just absolutely amazing. Actually, I don't know what pronouns they're using. I shouldn't say he, but this is just like literally a quick and easy guide to they them pronouns. It's an illustrated graphic novel description, kind of like a quick and easy guide to queer and trans identities. But in this one, there's the real characters illustrated. Archie, which is non-binary, and the other guy who is cis, and they have these conversations about they them pronouns, like asking questions, kind of bickering as if they were doing it in real life. I really liked it. It was informal. It was a quick and easy guide to read. I really liked it, and I also liked how these two characters like represented two sides, but they're both very open-minded. They gave examples to like how to ask people for what the pronouns are, and also if you use they them pronouns, like how to correct other people, like these kind of things that are just like people should know, but unfortunately it isn't as like common knowledge and courtesy yet. And with that, I'll come out and say that I'm officially using they them pronouns. That's why I ended up wanting to read this book. So for future reference, now you know I'm genderqueer. And then I also listened to kind of a related audiobook. This is All Boys Aren't Blue. This is a collection of essays written by George M. Johnson. His family is so supportive. This was just really great. It says a lot about queer identities. It says a lot about Black identity. It's just a really great representation, and I loved hearing him talk, especially when he was talking about his relationship to all these different people in his life. I particularly just love their family dynamic. Something I really, really admire in the Black community in general is just how supportive they come off and how touching it is to see how much love that is shown. And from the books that I've read, at least, it's just really, really beautiful, and this book was no exception. I really loved hearing about it. I really loved hearing about how his family has always had people who are queer and trans, and I just really enjoyed that. I think it's really important, and the audiobook is fantastic. It is read by Johnson himself, but it does seem kind of like homemade. Like it does sound a little bit like he's reading it. It could have been a bit more emotional, kind of as if it was a speech, because the things he's saying are just really powerful. There's some powerful quotes. I was definitely choking up like already from the beginning, so I highly recommend you check it out, and I do recommend the audiobook. Then the last thing, this has been a long video, that I listened to was The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. I'm showing you this, but I actually read the audiobook, which is red, but on Goodreads, that red edition isn't in Goodreads, so it looks like this edition, so we're gonna pretend that it's blue. This is voiced by Stephen Fry, which voices Harry Potter, and I just love like listening to his voice. It's so beautiful. He changes the voices. It's just like really comforting, and I fall asleep to Harry Potter every single night, so this was just like really great. But I'm listening to Harry Potter always, and I find it a bit confusing. That's like the same narrator but like completely different stories. But this is my second time reading this, and mostly because also it was the 42nd year of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which is just really crazy, and I did a Towel Day celebration video if you want to check that out, which is just a fun time reconnecting with these characters and the story, and I forgot so many things, so it was just really fun. And that is it for this video. I know there's a lot of books, but hopefully you enjoyed this video. Comment down below if you read any of these and what books you read this month. If you want to comment some recommendations for books written by Black authors about Black characters, and comment those down below, because I'm trying to read more of that because of the current situation and my very obvious ignorance. So I hope you guys have a brilliant day. I'll talk to you guys soon, and sending you so much love from Denmark.